This video is a part 2. For even more on the beautiful archaeology system and all of the potential that it holds, check out part 1 next. From the various amazing excavation sites to every single pot that you can get in the game to some secret uses for the pots, we've got a lot to look at today. But we're not just going to take a look at it, we're going to talk about what it could mean for the vanilla game as well. So, first things first, I think maybe the most interesting spot to start today would be with the different excavation sites and structures. In part 1, we talked about the 4 different biomes for these structures. We've got plains, we've got snow, we've got mangrove, and we've got desert. Different biomes for excavation sites opens up a giant possibility. And more structures, personalized structures, is one of my favorite things ever. So here we are, over at a plains biome excavation site. The excavation sites consistently, every single time, are going to consist of, well, they're going to consist of ruins. This is such a cool idea. From the shipwreck to the ruin portal, Minecraft already has a ton of ruin structures in the game that are pretty mysterious. So, do they fit? Definitely. It's kind of crazy, actually. If you were to have told me 2 years ago that archaeology could be in the... Well, actually, now that I think about it, you would have to tell me this like 3 or 4 years ago. If you were to have told me a system like this could make it into the vanilla game and actually fit amazingly, like perfect too, I would have never believed you, but it fits so well. Many of the archaeology sites are completely different, but there are some consistencies between every single structure inside of every biome. For starters, excavation blocks, and inside of those blocks, loot. Tell me why for a second I didn't even recognize that. Nice. Pretty consistently, at almost every archaeology site, from my experience, you will also be finding these pots. Now these pots, they're pretty interesting. Being a gravity-affected block is going to be pretty tricky, almost impossible to set a hopper below one. But if somehow you are able to get a hopper right below this thing, you don't even need to break the pot. You can get the hopper right below it and take the loot from inside of the pot out of the pot. Or can you? Alright, well that's awkward. Anyways, let's just go ahead and break this pot and see what we have inside of it, because things inside of it, you're gonna have loot. If implemented like this, these excavation sites are not only gonna be almost like a mini game that you could find in your world, but also a brand new lootable structure with sometimes loot that is actually like pretty decent. Those books aren't bad. If the hopper thing doesn't work, you still do have 2 options. Break the pot right now to get all the loot inside of it, or silk touch the pot, take the pot with you back to your base, and... oh, that doesn't have silk touch on it. Whoops. Moving on to a different excavation structure. A common theme about these excavation sites is they are always going to be placed up on the surface, unlike, say, the ruin portal or, of course, the shipwreck. This one is one of my favorite ones. Look at this thing. It's literally built out of quartz. You find this thing in your world, you walk up to this thing with your trusty pickaxe. Forgetting that this thing has stood for potentially millennia, you tear it down. It's so many of some of the best building blocks in the entire game. Destruction of invaluable historical sites aside, I like this one. It kind of is telling an interesting story here. Of course, it's an old building that is ruined. We've got a staircase back there. But also, if we think about this in the context of lore and who could have built this means whoever built this had access to the nether. Interesting. Another interesting and beautiful plain structure that I found is this one right here. Now, the structure doesn't include the copper blocks or the pots up front. It's really just the structure here with the granite all over the place, bookshelves this time, and even more quartz. If and when this makes it into the vanilla game, I can see it now, a cool challenge. You find the excavation site, you need to restore it to its former beauty. You go to the nether, like get more of these blocks and come back and like rebuild the building, and maybe you live in it. Let's see if we can get anything good, anything good, anything good, anything good, and while we're at it, anything good, anything good, anything good. Maybe not. Oh, I mean, if you're a fisher, yes, definitely. Now, there are many, like so many excavation sites within each biome. Those aren't the only plains ones, but I think we should move on over to the desert biome next. Here is one of the excavation sites that you're able to find within the desert. This one is absolutely ruined. I mean, it's just a wall. That's all that's left. Again here, with like the stories that these structures are telling, I love it. It's so interesting. It's like a little booth right here, and then some kind of pedestal or something, and then, I don't know, like maybe part of the wall or something. It's really interesting. From my experience, mainly due to the nature of the desert and how everything is kind of like the same color, the desert structures are some of the hardest ones to find. This is a big one though. Look at this. We've got a whole building. We've got a wall around the building. We've got a little bit of cactus, a little bit of vines, lots and lots of excavation blocks around this thing. And even inside of the building too. This time, inside of the building, we've got crying obsidian and we've got copper. Something interesting was going on here at some point. One thing that I think would be really cool would be like secret rooms or something on these structures, but that's not something I've been able to find quite yet. And finally for today, third desert excavation structure is this one right here. Just for the sake of time today, we'll keep it at 3 structures per biome. So anyways, this thing, at one point, it was a 2-story house. We've got a staircase in here that kind of works. It kind of works. It goes up to the 2nd story, and then maybe good loot, maybe good loot, maybe good loot. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's not bad. Next up, in honor of that cold holiday season, let's take a look at some of the coldest excavation sites you'll be able to find. This one might look familiar. Now, with these cold structures, I have noticed that it seems that these cold ones can generate in not only like the snowy plains biome, but also like the frozen taiga, tundra, you know, like a lot of the cold biomes. Same thing is going to go for some of the other structures. The plains ones, I've found them in forests before. So anyways, this structure right here, this is a very big one and a very interesting one. We've got, something going on over here. I'm not too sure what. Then we've got a skull down there that's like intense. And then up here, we've got a workstation as well. With the grindstone, the smoker, that means whoever built this thing before was at least a little bit advanced. That's kind of interesting. This one also consists of multiple structures, which makes it so interesting. We have an old building over there. Then we have like this thing right here, like an igloo or something. Then over here, we have like another igloo with a bed inside of it. And then finally over here, maybe another igloo with like something else inside of it. I love that the skulls are here. That makes it like so much darker. It's so cool. Well, I think I found one of the most strange, eerie, and liminal spots for one of these structures. It's in the middle of a frozen lake with like almost nothing around me at all. So weird. To make matters even more creepy here, on this one, we've got bone blocks sitting here, like giant bone blocks. Either they were building out of it or it's a fossil, a remnant of something from the past. Inside of it, again, the workstation blocks, so they were advanced. Something happened. I mean, look at this right here, a composter. This seems to have been at one point, maybe like a bigger house or something with multiple different rooms in it. It's really interesting and, again, so creepy out here. Yikes, guys. So I've been looking around for more of these structures inside of the tundra for like 10 minutes now. And I keep finding either the one we just checked out or this first one. For example, let's check this out. Load it up and yeah, you see what I mean? Again, with the eerie placement, can we please stop that? But yeah, this is a completely different one. And wow, actually, look at this. Like every structure for this biome is over here too. Oh, that's so cool. Last and most definitely not least, I've saved my favorite biome for the end, the mangrove swamp biome. So the mangrove swamp structures are so interesting because consistently, when you find these things generate inside of your world, they're going to be covered in mangrove trees. Like, they're lost to time, forgotten inside of the mangrove swamp. It's so cool. This one is really, really big. It's multiple houses. I think I found this one in part 1. Only reason we're seeing some weird generation, like sitting in the middle of giant bodies of water, is because I'm in single biome world to check this out. But anyways, check this out. Go ahead and break these roots. We move in, and there's a little bit of a trap thing going on. It's kind of interesting. I don't think it actually does anything, but still, kind of cool. Over here, we've got a little bit of water or something going on, maybe like a fountain, and then we've got a building over here. I love that they actually use the proper pieces of each environment that these things are found in for the builds, like the mud bricks on the wall and then the mud roots on the ceiling. This is a chef's kiss, for sure. Across the way from the mud building, we've got a mangrove tree that grew right in the way of the third piece of the puzzle over here. We've got a door, and then inside, a building that is like fully intact. Has actually survived the ages like pretty much perfectly. Thinking about all this stuff in the context of the vanilla game, this fits in like perfectly, and it also lends big time to that storytelling theme they're doing with 1.20 and also exploration. If the devs were to take what was done in this mod and maybe even expand it to even more biomes in the game, couple structures per biome, you're going to want to go out in your world and actually explore and find these different structures. Alongside the different structures that are really, really cool looking, inside of each structure you can find unique shards. Some shards you'll only be able to find inside of the mangrove swamp structure, meanwhile some of the other ones are in the plain structures. It's really, really cool, and again, a great way to incentivize exploring your world instead of just like settling down and never leaving that one spot again. So this structure is really, really big. We've got a house, and then that big mansion right over there. It's luxurious. We even have a couple crops that somehow survived all of the ages. Maybe this thing wasn't abandoned so far off, actually. I love the blocks that the mangrove structures are built out of, but I also love the fact that the mangrove swamp is like a dense jungle, so finding these structures could be a little bit tricky. You can't necessarily just fly around from the sky and spot them, obviously. You might need to move around on foot. Alright, well, I'm starting to have the same problem that I was having inside of the tundra again, guys. Every single site that I find, it's one of the two that we've already seen. I'll try it one more time. Maybe, just maybe, because the archaeology sites inside the mangrove are so beautiful. They're so good looking. Yep, that's that first one. So we've already got some lost, ruined, and forgotten structures in Minecraft right now. Also, this whole archaeology stuff is literally storytelling to a T, and also incentivizes exploration around your world. It's safe to say that from a structure standpoint, this stuff would fit perfectly into vanilla Minecraft. Now let's take a look at the loot. So we've got a very interesting system going on here with the brushes. It's something we talked a little bit more about in part 1, but basically, as you use the brush, it slowly oxidizes. Eventually will oxidize all the way, and basically help you find things that are better than what you were finding before. Of course, if you use this brush and excavate things properly, you'll get experience and sometimes a little bit of loot. Some of the loot is really cool, some of the loot is, maybe meh. But there is one thing that's better than them all, or at least today, the ceramic shards. Ceramic shards, and well, really, all of this stuff today are mechanics taken directly from that 2020 Minecraft Live big reveal. Ceramic shards are, again, it's literally storytelling here. We'll come back in a couple months' time, and if this stuff doesn't make it into 1.20 somehow, then I'll eat like the nastiest thing in the world for a video, right? The ceramic shards. In total, we've got the 13 different shards that we'll be able to find, and like I said, some of these are biome linked. For example, a snowflake shard, that's going to be in the snowy biome. The mangrove propagule, that's going to be inside of the swamp. The shards look so good. Cool thing about the shards is when this stuff makes it into the vanilla game, there could really, in theory, be almost an infinite amount of shards. The devs could just keep making new shards if they wanted to. Now, for more on the actual placing mechanics, I highly recommend you check out part 1 after this one, but it's great. You can place a shard on every flat side of the pot, but then also on the corners too. We take campfire, we heat up this clay version of the pot, give it a little bit of time, and it'll turn into one of these things right over here. It's pretty great. You want to talk about making your build a little bit more personalized? Check this out. So I've got a pot over here. We go ahead and drop that down to the ground now. If I wanted to, I could maybe turn this pot into a yellow pot. Oh, it's beautiful. Or I could rinse that off and maybe decide that orange is the move. The amount of combinations that you can make here, because we've got 16 different colors of pots in the game, and then 13 shards, and then up to 9 shards. No, 8. 8 shards on one single pot, plus all of these colors. Wow. Just wow. This is big, like so big for storytelling, decoration, and of course, customization, personalization inside of your world. These colorful pots look so good too, eh? I just love it. It's amazing. Decoration, it's on point, but also function is potentially absolutely amazing too. So let's set this up. We take a clay pot right there, we take bamboo and just go ahead and plant the bamboo on the pot. Pots can hold almost every single plant in the game after all. Then what we can go ahead and do is raise the random take speed game rule and check this out. I've discovered the bamboo can actually grow on top of these pots. Maybe this could be a brand new way of setting up some kind of small farm inside of your base and keep it all compact, maybe make it look really nice too. Considering the fact that we can also place saplings on these pots, I want to run a quick experiment. Let's say I had a stack of bone meal. I walked over to this pot. Can I maybe? Oh, no, that doesn't work. All right, I mean, fair enough. I figured, yeah, okay. Another pretty amazing thing about these pots is the fact that they are containers that actually work. Except the thing is you can't just like interact with the pot. That's what I'm trying to do right now. It won't open up. Instead, if you want to put things inside of this thing, redstone is where it's at. So check this out. If I take a diamond and drop it into the hopper, check the hopper, it's gone. In survival, if I go ahead and break this pot, the diamond, it was inside of it. With a setup like this, it's decisions. You find one of these in your world, you could either silk touch it and use it for decoration, or you could break it, the pot is gone, but maybe there's some good treasure inside. Check this out. Now we have a hopper with a pot in the middle with a hopper down below it. We drop the diamond in there, it's gonna go into the pot, then we check the hopper below and it's not there. I went back and checked the wiki page for this mod and I messed up earlier. You cannot take items out of this thing with a hopper. The way the mod page describes this mechanic right here is kind of like a piggy bank. Essentially, if you put something inside of the piggy bank, like your precious diamonds, if you want those things back, you're gonna have to break the piggy bank, actually. Nowadays, with some of the more recent additions, like dolphins in the mangrove swamp, it seems like the devs like to try and teach the community about things. This is another great opportunity. The lesson is pretty simple. If you go to the Great Pyramids of Egypt and find pots, maybe crack the pots open, just break them, and you will find diamonds and other valuables. The dyeing mechanic is great, I love it. The item storage mechanic, oh, it's even better. I really like that. The other cool potential uses, that's pretty cool. And then, of course, shards, chef's kiss. There is one final thing that I would like to talk about today. This concept art, it's a throwback to 1.19. If you've never seen it before, it's all about the ancient city. When the ancient city was being developed, the devs considered adding pots into the ancient city that you would have to break to get the loot out of. Pots inside of the ancient city that you break to get the loot out of? These archaeology pots, they're not only going to be good for archaeology, it's customization and personalization and storytelling and the other structures too. For example, imagine a reality where the devs come back around to the ancient city after the archaeology stuff is added to the game, and maybe they add a couple pots to the ancient city too. Like, you could find these things sitting around inside of the city, maybe on like the walls to make it a little bit more interesting and random. You can find like a pot every once in a while, and maybe you got to break that pot open for some of the best loot inside of the ancient city. Wow, guys, I think I'm literally in love with this Minecraft feature, and it's not even in the game yet. I love it. So what do you think? Do you think the devs should maybe come back to the ancient city after the pots are added and maybe sprinkle them all over the place? Do you think archaeology fits into vanilla Minecraft? Excavation sites. What do you think could have happened to these things? And who made them? Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you. And check out part 1 if you haven't. It's been me, Waddles, and I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.